Hello, this is Alma for Managerial Coaching Certificate, and I'm here with Marie. We're going to do a little coaching session. So, Marie, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so you do realize that this is being recorded. I will upload this to YouTube. Do you mind if I take some notes?
Not at all.
Perfect. Right, so how's your day going?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good?
Having a good day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And how is your week looking?
I think pretty busy still because there's a lot of things coming together, I guess, in my life schedule. But still like very exciting stuff. So it's looking like a busy week, I think.
Is there something in particular that stands out?
Actually, I'm together with you working on the Hult Prize, which is like a very big part of like just regular daily life, I think, from now on for the next years of my life, hopefully. But yeah, so I think now our whole team is together for a little bit, so it's just like a lot of meetings and just trying to get stuff done before going to an accelerator in Ashridge during the summer. So it's just a lot of prep work that is like, yeah.
Cool. So, do you remember the whole DNA that we did at the beginning of Module A?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember
Vaguely.
any particular goals that you were kind of focusing on?
Yeah, for sure. Something that I really wanted to focus on was being more outspoken because I tended to be more like an introvert and shyer. And I used to take more of like a back seat in class discussions, not necessarily in like projects, but more in like the class discussion. So that's definitely something that I wanted to work on more. And also I tend to be in group works. I tend to like maybe try and take over the conversation there, which is like funny how contrasting it is, but to try and like take more of a backseat in that situation and try and incorporate everyone more. So I think those were like my two main goals for during Hult, for sure.
Okay, interesting. So if we're thinking about this week in particular, do you think you could somehow apply this to your work?
I think for sure, because we're having more of these group discussions, like within our team for Silver Legacy, so for our Hult Prize project, where from the beginning we've kind of seen a few people as like the core to the team, and some people were added later, and I think to get them more to the core as well and get them like leveled, I really have to manage myself with like trying not to be too overwhelming, even though I have a strong opinion, and I feel like I'm like when I have that I want to share it, but sometimes people are more reserved and shy in these kind of situations. And it's funny because in the beginning I didn't want to overtake, like I couldn't overtake these bigger group discussions, and now I feel like I've turned into a person who is more taking over these group discussions. So it's funny how like now I have to backtrack myself a little bit, like I've overdone it maybe. So definitely something that I'm trying to pay attention to more. I don't know if I'm succeeding, but definitely something I'm more aware of.
So if you would have to make like a goal for this week to prioritize on, what would that be?
Probably to have one of the extended team members lead the conversation and like try not to share every opinion I have in the group. That it's that there's like that you can actively see that they're leading more rather than me trying to, or like steer the conversation. So that's something.
And why would you say this is important to you?
Because it's a team that we'll have to work with for a very long time going forward, and if we want to get everyone on the same level, that's something very important, and something that frustrates me easily is like equal contribution. But in order for them to be able to contribute equally, I have to like also let them. So I think that's like a important thing.
And if you think about, okay, so like if I just summarize what you're saying here is that at the end of the week, if I would ask you, has somebody from your team, from the extended team, led a discussion, you would say that you had like successfully reached your goal. Okay.
Yes.
So if you think about the situation today, how would you describe it in regards to this goal?
I guess I'm not successful at it today.
Okay.
but
could you elaborate on that?
I think whenever we're talking, so this is very specific to my situation now, but whenever we're talking to an external person and like explaining what it is we're doing, I still see that they're like looking at me for certain like information, like, oh yeah, Marie, what was that fact again? You know, like, and that like once they ask me that, I'm like, okay, they don't really feel comfortable talking about it, so then I take over the conversation again. Like that's what I noticed that today I did. And on one hand, like I feel confident that we communicated the idea well, but at the same time, like I completely didn't like succeed in reaching this goal of like trying to get them on the same level, because maybe like going through that process of kind of struggling to explain it is what they need to realize like where their gaps are and where they might like need some more learning to get to that same level. And I guess like you sometimes just need to fail before you can like do better. So I guess like letting them do that without me interfering is probably something like that. Going forward is something.
Do you think you have any more tools that you can sort of use to?
When you say tools, exactly.
Like, are there anything like? Is there anything more that you can maybe do to make sure that like you initiate this change, or that?
Something that we've been talking about in the team is doing pitching sessions. Something that we haven't this far incorporated, but I think in the next 3 days, I think it's very important for one of the extended team members to like try and do that, because I think like they're genuinely interested in doing this as well, and just giving them the opportunity that like the table is theirs all the way and like no one will interfere, like giving them that confidence. So I think that's something, definitely like a tool that we can use to improve that situation, I guess. And it also forces me to be quiet. So
okay. And is there like in which ways could your other team members maybe support you in this mission?
I think it's similar to what I would be doing as well, as just taking like more of a backseat role, I guess. Like not backseat, but just letting the other team members like I guess express their opinions, because I feel like myself and maybe some other team members are more outspoken about their opinions, and like I think that's definitely usually an advantage that you can express it, but at the same time I guess giving like that room that we sometimes let the conversation go quiet, so that the people who don't feel as comfortable speaking, that they can then contribute, rather than like keeping the conversation always going, and there's like it's very hard to get something in between. Maybe that's something we
can you think about like, or are there incidences where you have been successful in doing this?
Actually, in my module A class, I think that really proved very successful. Like, originally it was a group that I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to work well with, but over time I think we just got a lot better at like listening to people, like through conflict as well. Like there was conflict, unresolved, it was brought up in conversations, how people felt, and because of like sharing all of this information, we became more aware of other people's like triggers or like feelings that they were having, like more related to their personal
okay, so how confident are you in your abilities to make this goal come to reality this week?
Maybe like a solid 70%.
70%.
I don't want to go.
Pretty good.
Maybe 60. I don't know.
And what could you possibly do to get that 72?
Probably if I shared this goal in the group, it would give more. Like there would be more people checking on me actually like reaching this goal, and if I was completely not at all reaching it, they would probably speak out to me about it or like remind me of this goal that I had. I think there's definitely one thing to share. Sort of daily reminders.
Yeah.
Probably like write it on my hand or like make it the screensaver on my computer that I need to shut off. That might help. No, I'm probably having like conversations with these individuals, like maybe more like reserved, and like having more of like private conversations about certain topics as well. That might be useful as well to get their like feedback out, because sometimes it's not necessarily something that I'm doing. It might also just be part of their like personality or like how they are, what they're used to doing. So getting that out more in like a private session, that will, I think, has proven successful when we tried to do that like more one-to-one conversation. I was getting a lot more like feedback from them. So it might just also be like altering to their personal like personality essentially.
Perfect. Okay, so if I'm understanding this situation correctly, you have this goal that you want to reach, which is to kind of empower your team members to be more outspoken and maybe like take a little bit of a step back in order for this to happen. And from the current reality, you're maybe the more outspoken one in opposed to them. And the tools that you could use for this are to, for example, encourage them to run these pitch rounds with them and to like have your team members keep you accountable and measure these goals. And you're fairly confident that you can reach this.
Maybe
goal.
Overly confident. Maybe
I mean,
that's
1 week
why
is a
we're
short time, so I mean.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Marie.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Right? It's a cool little tool.